What's going on, YouTube? So I wanted to start a video series on my 1964 Pontiac Catalina project. This car started its life, and I'll plop some pictures of this car not in the stuffy garage so you guys can see all the sides before parking it in here for the winter. But it started its life as a 1964 Pontiac Catalina 389 V8 with a two-barrel carburetor, 4-speed manual car. And from what I know, the last time... Focus. So from what I know, when I got the car, the last time it was plated was in 1994, and it was in Washington State. I live in Minnesota, so I'm not exactly sure the history of from there to here and anything in between, but I do think, and you'll see in the video clips that I play from the first starts, it looks pretty untouched. So my goal was, because also in the video clips that you'll see, the car was parked in my backyard. When I brought it home, that's the only place I could unload it, and so I wanted to get it basically running and driving enough to get it where it is currently, in the garage, so I could work on it for real, kind of over the winter, and put some real work into it. So what you'll see is my buddy Brevin came over, my brother Win is behind the camera, and myself. We cleaned up the points in the distributor. I took all the spark plugs out, put some ATF down the cylinders, because after 16 years, at least that I know of sitting, I wanted to be a little nice on the rings. We hooked up an electronic fuel pump. We didn't have a battery in it, so it was hooked up actually with jumper cables to my truck, and just kind of hot wired the thing. I don't have keys for it even yet, but you could say kind of a sketchy setup, but the whole goal, remember, is just to get it from a backyard around the house and to where it's sitting now. So actually it wasn't too hard. Not a lot of crazy hiccups kind of went into it. It started not too bad, and you'll see we're pretty pumped on it, and it runs pretty good.
Oh, what's the plan again?
So we're going to start with the water bottle full of Turbo Blue race gas.
Turbo Blue.
And just fill up the car, then run some ether starting fluid through it.
Nice.
Try and get it running. Once we get it running, we're going to flip on the electric fuel pump and hopefully keep it running.
All right.
At least 20 seconds.
Ready?
Battle stations. That is freaking blue, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Ready?
Yeah.
Idling on its own! Oh, yeah. Hadn't been started in how many years? Don't even know. Don't even know. fuel pump running?
Yeah.
check out the sketch job here. Got them AN connector, so ain't leaking. Connected to a jump vac all the way up, unregulated, down to the turbo loop. That's what, 98 octane there, guys? 110. Nothing but the best.
So after we got the engine running and kind of running pretty well, this car did not have the original transmission in it when I got it, and it also didn't have the clutch pedal, brake pedal assembly. Basically somebody stole all of that as a parts car, and they also took the posi rear end third member out of it and put an open differential in it. So I bought it for pretty cheap, and knowing that I wanted to kind of put some money into it and make it well, a budget build, to be honest, but to make it a fun car again. So I had a Turbo 400 that I had laying around. It was a GM Turbo 400, which doesn't made up perfectly to a Pontiac BOP engine block, so I bought a adapter plate from Summit Racing and a different flex plate and all kinds of different things so that I could adapt the GM transmission to the Pontiac engine. So I got the Turbo 400 kind of mounted in there and happy, and then popped the drive shaft in there that we kind of made up for it, and so now the car was running, and actually when you put it in drive, it would drive under its own power. The last thing before moving it across the yard and into the garage was going through the brakes. Luckily, I don't know who owned this before me, but it looked like they were trying to kind of do something similar to what I'm doing. So it's got newer shoes all the way around. I had to make some brake lines. I had to replace a brake hose and some wheel cylinders, but the brakes are actually in pretty good shape. Drums don't even really need to be machined. They're still pretty clean. So we got the brakes going. I did have to replace the master cylinder. This is a single master cylinder manual drum brake car, which will have to be changed. You guys will kind of see why here in a little bit, but we got the brakes going, and then was kind of time to take it around the block. And so I'll plop a video in kind of right now of my wife and I taking it for the first time around the block. Ran pretty good, but it did have some pretty large, sorry the camera's not focusing, but it did have some pretty decent blow-by. And so I knew with this car that I wanted it to be pretty reliable and kind of a driver. As you can see, it's not the prettiest prettiest thing right now, but I wanted it to be a car that we could just turn the key and go have some fun in. And so I pulled the engine after we got it in the garage and brought it to work. To make a long story short, and to make this video not super long, it turns out this engine was not the original engine. It's not even a 389, and so it ended up being a 1967 Pontiac 326, which, like I said, it ran pretty well, but it's not really an engine that I would want to put much work or money into it, especially because it's not the original engine that came in the car. Not to dog it, but you know, those engines aren't really known for being power horses. The 389 is a pretty stout engine, so that one would make a little more sense to put some money in and send it to a machine shop and then kind of build it up from there. So then it was kind of on Marketplace and Craigslist and anywhere else I could think to try and find a 389. Now I was kind of picky on the year for the 389 engine that I wanted, and they're pretty scarce. I wanted a 1965 to 67. They have probably the most common parts that you can find on these Pontiac engines. So I wanted to make it at least a single four barrel carburetor car. I bought some headers actually for the car. Kind of just picked up some things in preparation. I have a full rebuild kit ready for a 389, but after months and months of searching and just looking on Craigslist or Marketplace, I wasn't able to find many 389s. The ones that I did find were either out of state or super expensive, and not in my budget. So what I decided to do, and this was probably going to piss off some of the Pontiac nostalgic guys, is I'm going for that kind of easy bolt-on modern power. I'm going with a 5.301 LS truck engine, and I'm going to put the Turbo 400 behind it and get a third member that's a posi or a limited slip and go out and do some burnouts and have some fun. I want to get it ready for springtime, and it's currently January here in Minnesota, and so springtime's kind of right around the corner. We do have quite a bit of winter left, but I know it's going to come up quick. So I'm going to try to do at least some maybe weekly videos on this thing, and if you guys find it interesting, let me know kind of in the comments. Subscribe if this is something that you're kind of interested in, and I'll try to keep you kind of posted. So I'll take you around the car now, kind of see its current state, and then discuss some future plans, and I think that'll be a video. So let's take a tour. Alright, so I just got the 5.3 kind of mocked up in there for now. It's actually just sitting on, if you see down there, a block of wood on the cross member, and I've got the bottom of the oil pan picked up by some more wood on the bottom. But I just kind of wanted to get an idea of spacing, motor mounts, that kind of thing. As you guys can see, I'm going to have a ton of room in here, which will be nice. I don't think I'll have any issue with header clearance or anything. I'm going to need to get a different intake. The truck intake is too tall. The hood won't close the way it is. So I'll probably try to get an LS1 or some kind of lower profile intake for this thing. Background on the engine, I'm not too sure. Found it on Craigslist. The gentleman I bought it from was going to use it in a project and ended up going a different route. So he doesn't have a whole lot to let me know, even miles wise, on this engine. But so it could not even be an engine, or a good engine, but it's kind of worth the shot. The price was right. Let's see. Take you around the rest of the car. So body wise, it's pretty clean actually. I mean, I know there's some surface rust, but pretty straight body. You'll see in the other videos. Interior's pretty much pretty much all there. Dashboard's all there. I've got to make some door panels and some carpet, but otherwise not too shabby. I will be getting different wheels and tires for this rig. Let's see. I have all the chrome trim and all the emblems. This is probably the most rot this car has, is back here in this lip. So this is going to be probably next winter's project. I want to get most of this car mechanically sound. As you can see, I'm kind of roughing in a trunk pan here, bead rolling, and kind of getting some rough measurements going. Alright guys, so memory card filled up, so if it looks a little different, that's why. Anyways, let's close this video out. I think it's long enough for just sitting around and talking. Kind of goals for the channel. Doing some metal work, either on this car or this Model A over here, which you may be able to see kind of. Also, a lot of information or just my steps in getting this LS mounted, getting the transmission married to it, and just getting this thing kind of road ready. Myself and a couple other people put on a car show in May, on May 30th here in Minnesota, so I want to have this thing ready and at the car show. Also, I want to be able to take it around this summer, go cruising, and just take it to other car shows. Kind of labeled this project Project Ratalina instead of Catalina because it's pretty ratty. And so, like I said, this is all going to be kind of mechanical process for this immediate future, getting things kind of rolling. And then after that, maybe throughout the summer and especially next winter, we're going to work on polishing up this old pig, and maybe get it in some paint, do some body work, and stuff like that. So if this interests you, please subscribe. I'm not really looking to get anything out of this other than if I can help one of you guys who has a similar project going on, then cool, because I can't find a whole lot out there. So I figured I might as well film my process and go ahead and put it out there. I think also on this channel, my brother has some kind of car stuff we work on. He's got a 75 Corvette, and he actually has this other LS. Excuse the mess in the garage, but this other LS here out of a Trailblazer, so it's an aluminum block sitting in the garage, and we're going to be doing some work to that as well. And also, you saw in the video, here's the Model A project. This one will take some time. This one's going to be pretty traditional. Here's a little hot rod pedal car for my son. But my buddy Brevin also has a couple cars that we work on. We all kind of get together and work on stuff. So you might see something different. He's got a 58 Studebaker Silverhawk. It's got wings on the back. If you haven't seen one, check them out. They're pretty sweet. And he's also got a 33 Chevy coupe, kind of like a Model A, but Chevy's Eagle version of it. So anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'd love to hear in the comments if you guys have gone through something like this. If you guys have a Pontiac or something that's got a little bit different frame than a common like Chevelle or G-body, A-body, GM. Let me know what you did. Anyway, peace out.